officers of TGIF Toastmasters have been working hard over the last year or so trying to continue a long-term tradition of helping improve this club. We're working on a mentoring program, improving our mentoring program. Jesse touched on it, but Brad's been working hard on education and tracking the speeches that everyone's doing. Karen's been putting our website together, and that's taken a lot of work. I thought I would take a few minutes this morning to talk about the support roles that we have in a Toastmasters organization. We have a lot of new members, excuse me, we have a lot of new members, and I think it's a relevant subject to try to help people understand a little bit. Most of the focus in our meetings is on the speakers, the speeches, the evaluations, the table topics, but it takes other roles in a meeting to really make a Toastmasters meeting function the way that we really want it to function. The awe counter, wordmaster, grammarian, the greeter, the vote counter, timer. So I'm going to use this speech and probably one or two more speeches because I won't have time to go through all of these activities. The first one I wanted to talk about today is the timer. Oh, I got on our website and I downloaded the directions for a timer. How many people have actually read it? We go over in our meetings the roles, each of the people, and kind of describe it. And this touches on the things that Anab talked about this morning when she was introduced, and how we use the green at the minimum, the yellow in the middle, the red at the end of the time frame, and then the white 30 seconds later. We do have a 30-second time frame after the end of the time for a presentation for people to wrap up their speech. And you might think that these support duties are fairly simple, but the timer one is especially difficult, I think. I've had trouble. Last time I did, I've noticed that Laurel's been helping Anab all through this meeting on the timing. And one of the problems that I've had when I did the timer, I put the green out, put the yellow out, put the red out, put the white out, and then I forget to bring them back. So the speaker comes out, and boom, there's the flag still out there. So you're correct. Yeah, you're finished. Now, the basics are in here. Some of the things, there's some red on here because I noted a few things that I thought were missing, and I'll add them into the write-up that we have posted on the website. The first thing that I think is very important about the timing is, when do you start? And you might say, what difference does that make? But the precise moment that you push that button is important. We've had several times over the last couple of years where speeches ran over 1 or 2 seconds and the people were disqualified. So it is important when you start. And when I came up here this morning, if you noticed, I dilly-dallied around a little bit and I walked off. When did you start the clock?
When you spoke.
Right. Okay, that's wrong. And if to me the right.
Precisely.
To me, the basic principle is that you start the clock, 1, when the person starts speaking, 2, when you make a physical movement or motion that supports the speech, because that's part of the speech. And if you watched Mark when he did his contest speech 2 weeks ago, when he walked out, he made some very precise movements with his mouth and head when he started his speech. So really, that's when his speech began. It's not when you start talking. Now, if you come up here and you move a table out and you're doing some things to set up your speech, that's a different situation. But if you're physically doing something when you get up, that's really when the clock should start on your speech, not necessarily just when you start talking. So it is, I mean, it's a little detail, but it can count a few seconds and people can run over. They have run over and been disqualified before. So I think it's important that the timer understand when they should be starting that speech. Other comments about timing, questions people have had when you've done the timer? The other one I wanted to talk about AweCounter, since we're doing that one today. There's several roles, the support roles in the meetings, that you really have to pay attention. You sit and you think, you're just going to sit here and mark them down. But when you're a wordmaster, grammarian, or an AweCounter, you really can't just sit there and enjoy the meeting. You have to pay attention to everything that's said throughout the meeting. And you really have to stay focused on that if you're going to really count all the awes, catch all of the other audible pauses that occur throughout a meeting. And the description, again, I downloaded this off the web last night, and it's fairly clear, and Marty talked about it whenever he gave the intro, but we're looking for audible pauses, ums, likes, things that repeat words. I'm bad about I, when I start a sentence sometimes, so any of those kind of audible pauses are what we're looking for. The main thing that's pointed out here at the end of the meeting, whenever you address telling everyone what they did, there's a note that says, try not to embarrass anyone. If the number of audible pauses starts to get very high, just mention that they had a lot and just leave it at that. One of the things I've seen in a few recent meetings, people have identified a queen or a king of awes. Personally, I think that ought to go away. Let's just hit on what people do. We're here to improve on what everyone's doing, so keep it at a fairly low level, but it is important to identify those things because people need to know and they need to learn. So I've hit on two of the roles that we have, and these roles are very important, and I do think it is the small things that make a difference whenever when we do these support roles in a meeting. So pay attention to what you're doing, and I'll hit on this in the next speech further. Thank you very much.